Okay, so the plan of attack after you get the intake manifold off, and you have this view right here where you can get to the intake ports. The first thing I'm doing is making sure that the intake valves are closed and that they are not going to let any of the fluid, the chemicals that I pour in there, down into the combustion chamber. So to do that, you look, let me give you some tips. And spoken like someone who doesn't know anything, because this is the first time I'm doing this, so take that for what you will. But I did watch a lot of YouTube videos and stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night. So what you do after you get your intake manifold off, you look down in there and, okay, this one's full of fluid. So let's look at this one like we did earlier. You look at there and you see if they are closed. And it can be kind of tough to tell because of all the buildup, but these ones look closed. And if you're not sure, as I wasn't the very first time I looked down in there, I just wanted to see how big of a gap there would be, you put a ratchet on the crank bolt, and then you turn that clockwise. In this case, just double check on your engine. But if you're standing in front of the vehicle and you turn it clockwise, then that's the correct direction for most cars. If you do it the other way, you can mess up your timing and cause issues. So definitely look that up before you do this. But you put a ratchet on the crank, you turn it, and then you watch the valves open and close. And the intake valves are closed through most of the combustion process. So they're most likely, most of them are going to be closed. And then you might just have to close a couple of them as you move on to those cylinders. So then once you've got them closed, you can pour some cleaner in there to get that carbon off. And what I went with, I saw some YouTube tests where guys soaked intake valves that were coated in carbon in a bunch of different products, and the Berryman B12 Chem tool did the best. So what I'm doing is I'm pouring B12 in there and letting it sit for a few hours. Then it's basically like cleaning a gun. You're gonna douse it in chemicals, and then you're gonna hit it with a brush. So these are called Bench Buddies, and they're like really expensive special brushes for cleaning transmission valve bodies. You don't need to get this fancy. I actually have some steel brushes on the way that I actually think will work better than these. So yeah, you just hit it with a brush. The cool thing about the Bench Buddy though is that it does screw into a drill, so that helps the cleaning. So you hit it with a brush, and then you hit it with a patch. So I just cut up some old t-shirt, and I'll take that and I'll wrap it around a brush, and then go down there, swab it, take it out, and then they will come out like pure black like this. So that's what I've been doing. Actually, when the fluid's super full, before I even send the patch down there to soak up the fluid, I'll actually use like a turkey baster. This is for car batteries for refilling the distilled water, but this one I use for fluids like this. And so I'll suck most of it out, and then what's left I'll mop up with a patch. So that's the game plan. And then for the second treatment, I do it again, and then, because it's not going to remove everything the first time, not when they're this bad. And then the second time I do the exact same process, but with Techron Complete Fuel System Cleaner. And I went with this because I was doing some research, and the B12 Chem Tool is a solvent, and that's all it is. It's just a hardcore solvent full of nasty chemicals. But what's weird, it just doesn't have the strongest solvent. The strongest solvent that I guess is known to man. I don't know. It's called PEA, with I think it stands for like polyester amine, something like that. But there's no PEA in B12 that I could find. But Techron has a high percentage of PEA as its detergent. So PEA supposedly the strongest detergent you can get. This has a lot of it, so that's why I went with that for the second one. But I think this is still probably less hardcore than the B12 because it's got a lot of other things in it, like oils to help lubricate injectors and other things. So I guess my game plan is going from most pungent and working my way down. And then lastly, after I get done cleaning it with the Techron, then the brake clean gets sprayed in there as a final clean.